three. 1, 2, 3. Let's go.
All right, everybody, welcome to Teaching Crypto, the AZcrypto, MrFOMO. Please, if you can, hit that like, that subscribe, that bell notification, share our show. And if you do, please, we have super chats available. MrFOMO, another uneventful week for HBAR, but it was not quite in the crypto space. In fact, we have a major story that is not getting enough press, but we're going to cover it here. And we're going to tell you something that might be monumentally changing crypto. And you might say, we're crazy to say something like that on Monday where Bitcoin's not working, but we will explain. First, Bitcoin, another boring weekend. And usually every Monday I say, well, this is the week we get to 30 and we go straight up to 34. Now, I'm not going to say that this week. I am going to say we are going to get to 30. I do believe that. But I'm going to try a reverse jinx here, like in sports. I'm not going to predict the 34. Wink, wink. I'm going to say we do get to 30. We do hold 30. As now, it is the middle of the month, so there's 16 days left. But the longer this goes, the more it looks like you're right because you predicted an October move, not an August move. I'm not that bullish on September, to be honest with you, because of past historical performances. My theory was we were going to move in August and then kind of be dormant. Not go down drastically, but be dormant in September and then make a move in October, early November, a little bit of retrace, and then see some fireworks late January, early February next year.
There's this thing that keeps popping up. It's the Bitcoin Spot ETF, and I put a question in the chat to see if anyone knows, and it doesn't seem like too many people are joining us this morning, so they'll check it later, but the first Bitcoin Spot ETF, do you know when that application was filed?
The very first one ever?
Yes.
Go ahead, tell us.
2013. So for 10 years, Spot ETFs have been trying and failing. So every time this idea of the Spot ETF comes around, you know, everybody starts talking about how Bitcoin's going to run, how this is, and it drums up interest. But I think people are tired of hearing about it, and I don't think it builds that kind of news that it used to. And I think it's important to recognize that, and it's also important to recognize that there is no, the conditions could be perfect for Bitcoin, and still the SEC is not required to approve that Spot ETF, right? They just don't have to do it.
No matter they have to there are deadlines for when they have to start making final decisions. So the one that was delayed. Now, what they did say is they did kind of open the door for approving this without approving this. Basically, what they said is to ARK, we don't need to tell you yes for this to be legal, but we're not going to tell you it's legal. Basically, it was a crazy statement. Okay. And so, yeah, that's a great point, Tennessee. BlackRock has not tried many times. They have to give a final answer to ARK by January. And then the others are coming in March, a month before the ATF. So I still think we're going to get an approval here. But it might not be like an approval with a green stamp saying go. It might say, technically, we can't say these are illegal ETFs. So go ahead and proceed. And here's why. Let me explain. Bitcoin has already been labeled a commodity. It's never going to be called a security. You have other ETFs open with commodities. So then you have to justify why you're not doing it. And it's easy to justify whoever did it in 2013 was probably, I assume, small guy. Wasn't BlackRock. It wasn't Fidelity, right? It wasn't ARK, who's even, not as big as those two. But you get my point. When the big boys show up, you can't give a lame excuse. So I do think we are going to get an approval. I feel pretty strongly about it, but it won't be hey, we're saying this is fine. Go for it, guys. They're just going to say, we can't legally stop you And that's going to be the yes. It's kind of like when you first saw the tweet for the XRP, it was kind of a mixed until people realized, oh, it's not a security for the buyers, the general public retail. It's going to be one of those, we're not saying yes, but we are not going to penalize people for doing the ETF. Okay. So that's what we're going for here, Mr. FOMO.
And they've already stated that the SEC, correct me if I'm wrong, already stated that there's no reason for not approving it because the ETF market is regulated, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the size of the Bitcoin market is such that it's not subject to the volatility it used to be subject to, right? It's still subject to extreme volatility,
but it's not going to go to 10,000 in one day,
coins, right? And so they've admitted that those things that used to worry them are gone, but I still don't see. This is still a branch of the government. They're still at the whims of the political winds, right? Whichever way the political wind is blowing, they're going to have to keep up with that. And as of right now, the political winds don't favor crypto. And I don't see them, even if it's a lame excuse, I still see them giving an excuse, at least for some time on this, because, and I do agree with Tennessee Eco, man. I think that BlackRock or a bigger market maker might have more success in this, but I still don't think that they have to approve it. I still think that they can give a lame excuse. We're talking about the SEC. They are
but they can lose in court.
lame excuses in this market. But that's fine. That's fine. They could lose in court, but the problem is they still could not approve that ETF.
Well, eventually,
and so I still think with the fact that they constantly give lame excuses, they constantly do things that seem, anti-market and anti-consumer. I think that this will kind of drag on for more time.
We'll see. I think we're getting an approved one by 2024, but it could happen before then because they could give up and they could not want to fight this, because this is not giving an ETF to Bitcoin is not saying all crypto is great. I think those are two very different things. Absolutely. So they can easily draw the line between Bitcoin and in fact, as more regulation finally kicks in, which they failed to do and give clear rules and guidelines, that would be a way to start a differentiation and say, we're okay with all Bitcoin, and here's the other projects. We're not going to label security for now. Everything else is subject until we get our ducks in a row. I want to talk about a project.
I mean, you're talking about they haven't made any sense at any point so far. Even after the XRP ruling, they're still talking about going after XRP or appealing that ruling. And so this is and you mentioned regulation. That's their job. That's like the one thing that they should be working on, and they're not working on it. So the idea that they would get on this approval, I just don't see it happening. I think especially without a bigger name in it, I don't think it's happening.
We'll have to see. I think we're getting one in 2024. So we'll wait to be seen. I want to talk about HBAR because I think HBAR, and this is going to be a crazy statement, might be fundamentally changing crypto. And you might say, wait a minute, HBAR is centralized. It's not decentralized. It's too many corporate fingers in the pie.
Blockchain.
Let me explain. Okay. And this is now the second time HBAR has made news. If you remember, they had a deal with Hyundai and Kia tracking emissions. Now, okay, the Federal Reserve has just added HBAR-enabled platform to their list of service providers. Okay, and there was a FedNow program that went into effect, and apparently here HBAR, Mr. FOMO, is possibly being used again. And now this is the second one. Working with the Federal Reserve is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, and so everybody knows the Federal Reserve, but what is that FedNow program? What is that for?
Well, that is to provide immediate relief for people in case something goes wrong with your bank and can't have access to your funds. Now, here's what I love, and I want to throw the price chart up. You remember there was we talked about, like, why is it HBAR running with the Hyundai news, and you had some theories, and then 24 hours later it did run. Well, guess what? Okay, here, we're going to look at the chart now. Okay, Mr. FOMO, and look at the 1 day here. Look at that. Almost was at 17, went back down just a little bit to the high 16s, but look at all that green there. Look at the volume. Okay, now will this hold? Probably not. It'll retrace a little bit today, but here's my point. You see an increase in volume of, look at that. Wow. You see that increase, Mr. FOMO? Over 1,000%? Huh?
That's incredible. That's out of control.
Yeah.
When you see that kind of a volume increase, that means something is happening on that. Something huge is happening on that network. And normally you see the market cap and the volume are pretty close as far as their ranking. And you see Hedera is ranked 17 in volume and 30 in market cap. So something is happening there.
Yeah, I think this is one, honestly, and I kind of changed my mind. So there's two theories, right? You could get your alts now, put them in a safe place, and come back in 18 or 24 months. But it may be better, and we'll talk about this, probably be our next show, to go all in, I think, on Bitcoin, wait for Bitcoin to run, and then get into the alts, because the alts have just been up and down. This has been one of the few consistent ones with Solana. And now Litecoin, Mr. Slim, probably won't talk about till the spring, because that'll be the next buying opportunity. We'll go back and look at the charts. We'll do that's another great opportunity for a show, Mr. FOMO. When is the next time to buy Litecoin? It ain't now. But in the spring of this year, you could see Litecoin at a great entry. And Litecoin will make, Mr. Slim, will go much higher than 114 in 2024. But now is not the best time to buy. You're way early. But anyway,
and you see, they just had that halving event. Traditionally, after, if you go back and look at the charts, I don't have anything up right now, but if you look at the charts for Litecoin, post halving is pretty negative.
No, but then spring, and even the following fall, it normally does at least a 2x pretty quickly in a couple months. So stay tuned, because that'll be. But anyways, HBAR, Mr. FOMO. What I have decided over the weekend 100% is when I do go into my alts, and I've held on for now. I do have some chain link this month. HBAR is going to be one I'm going to have to hold, because they're working on some real stuff. They've got real people behind it. And yes, I understand a lot of people don't think it's a real blockchain, traditional blockchain, and crypto, whatever tradition is. The industry is only a little over a decade old. They don't like that they have partners like Google. Okay, I get it. They don't like that there's humans involved. But these are the type of people that big players trust. And when they need this type of technology, these are the type of people they are going to go to. And they're not, I hate to say it, but Charles Cardano is not going to be that guy that the Fed Reserve goes to. There's no way. And so I think HBAR is going to be one that you're going to want to have in your portfolio post-halving. Okay, you could get it now. I mean, it's only at 2 billion. So I think during the bull, could this be between a 10 and 20 billion cap? Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a lot of room to grow. But for me, they've proven it to me. And now that we've seen for the first time, prices going up based on moves, because you've seen this before where HBAR had an announcement. They were working with an Australian debit system and the price didn't move. Okay. Yeah. HBAR, the tokenomics are not perfect by any means, Tennessee, but I think people are going to buy it big time. Okay. Because some of the people entering crypto are entering in a different way now. I mean, how else would you explain HBAR now having two big volume spikes after news? What do you think, Mr. FOMO?
The thing about HBAR is that those let's see, I'm going to put this. Those partnerships are a big deal, right? And the idea that they are working with the Federal Reserve is going to turn a lot of DeFi degens and people who are true to decentralization off. But as an investor, you have to pay attention to where the money is going to come in.
You got to leave your bias out the window. Someone made a great tweet. No one cares about your bias. Like, people hated Rollbit because they're like, oh, this is never going to work. It's not a real project. People didn't care, right? So the reality is, and I think this is an important topic, we'll talk about it another time. I don't really care if it can be manipulated. If I can hold it and use it during the bull market, doesn't matter to me.
I do care that it can be manipulated. One thing that I do care about, and this is the problem with blockchain versus Hashgraph, is the publicity, right? I can go in and I can look at a coin and I can say, this is how many or how much the percentages of the top 10 holders. This is how much the top 100 holders hold, and so on. And that I can't do with HBAR, and that's concerning. And so when we talk about manipulation, that is something that does concern me, because I can't see a lot of the things that I normally like to see with HBAR. However, the partnerships with TradFi, the partnerships with Kia and Hyundai, and tracking actual things, using blockchain to do something real, right? It's not just passing money back and forth. It's not passing somebody's crappy art back and forth. It is a real utility, a real world use case that is something that's on the cutting edge too, right? This is something that people want to keep track of, is emissions. And so, like you said, seeing those partnerships is one thing, but seeing them have real world use cases and real world utility, I think, is the most important thing. And you see the investors responding on the charts.
Yeah. And so for me, it's not about whether I love the project. If for the alts, to me, they're all unproven right now. Except even ETH, it has great crypto utility. You don't need ETH to take your family on a vacation. Let's be honest. So for me, all the alts are kind of in the same bucket. If I think not all, right? I'm not talking about the ones that could be rugged within 24 hours, but the established alts. So if HBAR continues to get bought up on the dip over and over again during this very, very early bull run, that to me means I would like to get a hold of it big time. That's just my opinion. And
for me, HBAR provides you with a little bit of diversity. I know that people don't like that word, but I mean, as far as your portfolio is concerned, it allows you to hedge against, blockchains, right? In this space, we have all these blockchains. Hedera has a Hashgraph, so it's at least it's different than the things that are happening out there. But again, partnerships that are real are a big deal.
All right. If you missed our Voyager show, there'll be a link on the bottom. The app is closing. You need to watch that show if you're a Voyager customer. For MrFOMO, this is AZcrypto. You guys have a wonderful day, and we'll see you later. Hit that subscribe button.